Imagine a world where the ultimate being of power isn't a demon of the underworld, but an unfallen angel who views human morality as our greatest curse. Welcome to Eseldorf, an isolated Austrian village in the year 1590. It is a place asleep, untouched by the outside world, nestled in the deep privacy of a hilly, woodsy solitude. It was a time when the world was still trapped in the age of belief, and Eseldorf was the very center of that blissful ignorance. At its front flowed a tranquil river, its surface painted with cloud forms and drifting boats. Behind it rose a lofty precipice, crowned by a vast, frowning medieval castle mailed in dead winter vines. Here three young boys, Theodor Fischer, our narrator, Seppi Wohlmeyer, and Nikolaus Baumann, live what they believe is a paradise. They aren't pestered with too much schooling. Instead, they are trained to be good Christians, to revere the Virgin, the Church, and the saints, and above all, to fear the devil. In this village, religion is everything. They are guided by two priests. The first is Father Adolf, a zealous, strenuous man held in solemn and awful respect because he claims to have absolutely no fear of the devil. Father Adolf openly boasts of fighting Satan face to face, proudly pointing to a ruddy ink splotch on his study wall where he bravely threw his ink bottle at the enemy. But the boys and the rest of the village dearly love the other priest, the gentle Father Peter. Father Peter is a man who teaches the goodness of God and looks for the best in humans. Father Peter has a powerful enemy, a sinister astrologer who lives in a tumbled old tower in the valley. This astrologer, who wears a tall pointed hat and flowing robes covered in stars, is feared by everyone, even Father Adolf. When Father Peter publicly denounces the astrologer as a fraud and a charlatan, the astrologer takes his revenge. He spreads a vicious rumor that Father Peter has been preaching heresy. The bishop believes the lies, and Father Peter is indefinitely suspended. Now, the old priest and his beautiful 18-year-old niece, Margit, are left destitute, their friends abandoning them, facing imminent foreclosure and absolute poverty. To escape the gloom of the village, Theodor, Seppi, and Nikolaus spend their days roaming the hills and the abandoned castle park. They spend their nights listening to the old castle servant, Felix Brandt, who tells them terrifying ghost stories. One May morning, the boys are resting on a woody hilltop when a stranger strolls out of the trees. He is a youth of about 16, dressed in fine, new clothes. He is impossibly handsome, with a winning face, a pleasant voice, and an easy, graceful manner. When Theodore silently wishes for fire to light his pipe, the stranger seamlessly reads his mind. "Fire, oh, that is easy," the youth says. He simply blows his breath onto the wooden pipe, and the tobacco instantly glows cherry red. The boys are terrified and turn to run, but the stranger's voice is so alluring, so gently persuasive, that they are charmed into returning. He begins to perform casual, impossible miracles. He folds a leaf into a cup, scoops up muddy puddle water, and blows on it, instantly freezing it into a solid, clear lump of ice. When the boys ask for fruit, he reaches into his flat, empty pockets. From them, they pull out perfectly ripe oranges, apples, and out-of-season grapes. He takes a lump of wet brown clay and molds it into a tiny squirrel. Suddenly, the clay squirrel springs to life, running up a real tree and barking down at them. He molds a tiny clay dog no larger than a mouse, which immediately begins barking and chases the squirrel deep into the forest. He creates clay birds and tosses them into the air, where they transform into real birds and fly away singing. Overwhelmed with awe, Theodore asks the beautiful stranger who he is. "An angel," the youth replies simply. To prove his power, the angel creates 500 tiny men and women, each the size of a finger. These miniature humans are incredibly detailed, busily mixing mortar and laying masonry to build a miniature stone castle. When Seppi asks the angel his name, the youth replies with a tranquil smile, "Satan." The name hits the boys like a physical blow. They drop their toys, shattering them on the ground. Satan laughs a bright, clear laugh at their fear. He explains that he is not the fallen Lucifer. He is the devil's nephew, an unfallen angel, 16,000 years old, entirely ignorant of sin and completely without blemish. As he speaks, two of the tiny clay workmen begin to fight. Without missing a beat, Satan reaches down with his flawless fingers and casually crushes the life out of the two tiny men. He wipes the blood from his fingers onto a lace handkerchief and continues his conversation. Tiny wives gather around the crushed bodies, weeping and sobbing, while a tiny priest kneels to pray. But the small noise of their weeping begins to annoy Satan. Irritated, he picks up a heavy wooden board and carelessly mashes the entire crowd of 500 innocent people into the earth, treating them like flies. The boys' hearts are broken, they weep for the innocent lives, but Satan simply laughs. "Don't cry," he says indifferently. "They were of no value, we can make plenty more." Satan then pulls out a strange, unearthly musical instrument and begins to play. The divine music washes away the boys' horror, making them drunk with the joy of his presence. Satan becomes a regular presence in their lives, invisible to anyone he chooses. He picks up a tiny wood louse and compares it to mankind. "Man is made of dirt," Satan sneers. "He is a museum of diseases, a home of impurities." "And man has the moral sense," Satan continues. "That is the difference between us." According to Satan, the moral sense is humanity's greatest curse, the ability to deliberately choose to do wrong and justify our cruelties. Before he leaves, Satan transforms his body into a transparent, iridescent soap bubble. The bubble bounds lightly across the grass and explodes into nothingness. Exactly where he vanished, Father Peter finds a heavy leather wallet. Inside are 107 gleaming gold ducats. The boys convince the weeping, overjoyed priest to keep the money to pay off his debts. But in Eseldorf, good fortune is inherently dangerous. The sinister astrologer hears about the exact sum of 107 ducats. He publicly declares that the money was stolen from his own secret stash. Father Peter is arrested and thrown into a cold, dark prison cell. The gold is seized by the state, leaving Margit and her old nurse, Ursula, destitute once again. Margit is abandoned by the entire village. Her only remaining loyal friend is the young lawyer Wilhelm Maidling, who vows to defend Father Peter in court. Seeing old Ursula's misery, Satan appears. He finds a starving stray kitten and tells Ursula to name it Agnes. Satan blesses the cat, turning it into a lucky cat. Every morning, Ursula reaches into her pocket and magically finds 4 silver groschen. Satan begins visiting Margit's house as Philip Traum. He brings supernatural abundance to their home. A single small fish in a frying pan magically duplicates. Soon, their table is overflowing with rich game, exotic fruits, and royal wines. However, the sudden wealth attracts the village gossips. They flock to Margit's house, eating her magical food while secretly spying on her, convinced she is using witchcraft. To prove his point about the grotesque nature of humanity, Satan takes Theodore on instantaneous journeys across time and space. He takes the boy into the dark, smoky torture chamber of the local jail, where executioners drive wooden splinters under the fingernails of a suspected heretic. He then transports Theodore to a massive factory where starving men, women, and little children are forced to toil for 14 hours a day. "This place is full of the moral sense," Satan says. "The factory owners are wealthy and respected, but they pay these poor workers just enough to keep them from dropping dead. Brutes do not act like that, only men." Satan then shows Theodore a grand, horrifying vision of human history. He shows Cain murdering Abel. He shows Noah's flood, the destruction of Sodom, Roman massacres, and the bloody march of Christian civilization. "For 1,000,000 years," Satan laughs, "the race has gone on monotonously propagating itself and monotonously reperforming this dull nonsense. The Christian has added guns and gunpowder, proving that to kill is the chiefest ambition of the human race." Back in Eseldorf, Margit throws a lavish party for 40 guests. Uninvited, the astrologer strides into the house. He pours a beaker of Margit's magical red wine and drinks it. He then pours a small 2-pint bottle into a massive 4-quart bowl, filling it to the brim, yet the bottle remains completely full. Father Adolf leaps to his feet, denouncing the house as bewitched. The crowd panics, but before the priest can finish his curse, Satan transforms into a transparent film and melts directly into the body of the astrologer. Possessed by the angel, the astrologer casually strolls out into the village square. He takes 100 brass balls from a juggler and sends them spinning into a 20-foot oval in the air, leaving them to spin entirely on their own while he performs impossible acrobatics on a tightrope. The village is left terrified, convinced that the wrath of God and the dreaded interdict are about to fall upon them. Satan takes Theodore to a quiet mountaintop to explain the horrifying truth of human free will, or rather, the absolute lack of it. A human life is like a row of standing bricks. A child's very first act pushes over the first brick, setting off a chain reaction that determines every single event for the rest of their life. Satan reveals that he has altered the fate of Nikolaus and a little girl named Lisa. Under their original fates, Lisa would fall into the river in 12 days, and Nikolaus would save her. However, Nikolaus would catch a cold from the freezing water, leading to a severe fever that would leave him a paralyzed, deaf, dumb, and blind log, praying for death for 46 years. To save them from these miserable futures, Satan has simply delayed Nikolaus by 2¼ minutes. Now, Nikolaus will arrive too late. Both he and little Lisa will drown. The next 11 days are pure psychological torture for Theodore and Seppi. They spend every waking moment with Nikolaus, treating him with heartbreaking tenderness, secretly counting down the hours to his death. On the fatal morning, Nikolaus's mother forbids him from leaving the house. The boys feel a surge of hope, but a neighbor knocks on the door, saying little Lisa is missing. The mother tells Nikolaus to go look for her. Minutes later, the village erupts in screams. The wet, lifeless bodies of Nikolaus and Lisa are carried into the house. Little Lisa's mother plunges through the crowd, clenching her fist at the sky, bitterly cursing God for ignoring her prayers. Because Frau Brandt cursed God, she is in danger. Satan tells the boys that originally she was destined to live 29 more years of unimaginable grief. To help her, Satan alters her path by a mere 3 minutes. Because of this slight change, she runs into a cruel weaver who overhears her blasphemy and turns her over to the Inquisition. 3 days later, she is excommunicated and dragged to the market square in iron chains. As the executioners tie her to the wooden stake and light the fires, she looks out at the mob of her former friends. Her hard face softens and she gently says, "We played together once in long agone days when we were innocent little creatures. For the sake of that, I forgive you." The fires consume her. When Theodore asks why the villagers throw stones at innocent women, Satan laughs. "I know your race. It is made up of sheep. It is governed by minorities. The vast majority shrink from inflicting pain, but in the presence of the aggressive and pitiless minority, they don't dare to assert themselves." Finally, the day of Father Peter's trial arrives. The entire village packs the courtroom. The arrogant astrologer takes the stand, testifying that he found the 107 gold ducats 2 years ago. Wilhelm Madling, the young defense lawyer, is utterly outmatched and the crowd laughs at him. Suddenly, Satan appears and melts his transparent spirit directly into Wilhelm's body. Instantly, Wilhelm's posture straightens and a luminous, commanding intelligence flashes in his eyes. Wilhelm asks the judge to examine the dates stamped on the gold coins. The judge picks them up and gasps in shock. Almost all of the 107 coins are stamped with the date of the present year, proving mathematically that the astrologer could not have found them 2 years ago. The courtroom explodes into cheers. The astrologer is exposed as a fraud, and Father Peter is officially cleared of all charges. Margit weeps tears of joy, and Wilhelm is hailed as a hero. But Satan's involvement is never truly kind. Theodore rushes to the prison to free Father Peter, only to find the old priest marching pompously up and down his cell, giving royal commands to the jailers. The sheer trauma of the shock instantly snapped the old man's mind. Now, Father Peter believes he is the emperor of the world. He graciously offers kingdoms to Margit and Wilhelm, entirely oblivious to his actual surroundings. Theodore is furious and heartbroken. He confronts Satan, demanding to know why he destroyed the priest's mind when he promised to make him happy. Satan is genuinely annoyed. "What an ass you are," Satan scoffs. "Sanity and happiness are an impossible combination. No sane man can be happy, for to him life is real and he sees what a fearful thing it is. Only the mad can be happy. I have taken from this man that trumpery thing which the race regards as a mind," Satan continues. "I have replaced his tin life with a silver-gilt fiction. He is now, and will remain, the one utterly happy person in this empire." For a year, Satan continues to visit Theodore, taking him around the world, endlessly mocking the triviality and cruelty of the human race. But one day he appears with a solemn expression. He tells Theodore he is leaving forever. Desperate, Theodore asks, "In this life, Satan, but in another, we shall meet in another, surely." Satan looks at the boy all tranquilly and soberly, and delivers the most chilling revelation of the entire story. There is no other. "Life itself is only a vision," Satan continues. "A dream, nothing exists, all is a dream. God, man, the world, the sun, the moon, the wilderness of stars, a dream, all a dream, they have no existence. Nothing exists save empty space, and you," Theodore whispers, "I." "And you are not you," Satan says, his voice echoing in the sudden emptiness. "You have no body, no blood, no bones, you are but a thought. I myself have no existence. I am but a dream, your dream, creature of your imagination. In a moment you will have realized this," Satan's disembodied voice whispers. "Then you will banish me from your visions, and I shall dissolve into the nothingness out of which you made me. Strange that you should not have suspected years ago, centuries, ages, eons ago, for you have existed, companionless, through all the eternities. A God who could make good children as easily as bad, yet preferred to make bad ones, who could have made every one of them happy, yet never made a single happy one, who mouths justice and invented hell, mouths mercy and invented hell. It is true that which I have revealed to you, there is no God, no universe, no human race, no earthly life, no heaven, no hell. It is all a dream, a grotesque and foolish dream. Nothing exists but you. and you are but a thought, a vagrant thought, a useless thought, a homeless thought, wandering forlorn among the empty eternities. Satan vanishes entirely, and Theodore is left standing alone, appalled because he knows and fully realizes that everything the mysterious stranger had said was true. And that brings us to the end of Mark Twain's posthumous, existential masterpiece, The Mysterious Stranger. It is a story that strips away all our comfortable illusions about morality, free will, and the benevolence of the universe, leaving us with a staggering, solipsistic nightmare. What did you think of Satan's philosophical arguments? Is the moral sense truly a curse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into classic literature and dark philosophical fiction, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more visual storytelling. Until next time, remember, it might all just be a dream.